So you're going to go there and live there for those reasons. That just, I think some people were asking some questions. I wanted to make sure that we're clarifying that.
Okay.
But yeah, so with that, then the next thing, like you said, with the legions of things attacking, you also have players attacking. So the cool thing, I guess we should probably go into PVE, because PvP is really self-explanatory. PVE is a little bit more because they just recently added it to the game. So the PVE is more interesting to me because of that. And then two, there's similarities with actually creation of this game. There's a lot of similarities, so a lot of people have been comparing the two. I think this game is a little bit simpler. So when it comes to the PVE content, there's some pros and there's obviously some cons, right? But you're not done yet, so I don't want to hit it too hard here. But so with PVE content, there are invasions where the corruption will grow in your area, and it is up to that area, so whoever owns that area, to combat the corruption. And there's different levels of corruption that can happen. And honestly, if you let it sit there and you don't push it back or defeat it, it will grow and get worse and worse and worse, and eventually come after your town. So you have to literally go out there and kill it. And some of it might be simple. One player can knock it out, and it might be worse where you need a group and it might need a raid to clear that place out. But the corruption can come and it can spawn. So that's one aspect. And then there are just straight up invasions, but they'll spawn. It'll be really, really bad, and they'll try to invade and take out your fort. So you have to defend it, which is fun. There's really cool aspects of the invasion, which the invasion, there's eventually two versions of it, the PvP and the PvE, right? The PvP version is the players doing it, and then the PvE is the NPCs are coming to attack you. So when the NPCs spawn and they're corrupt and they're coming to attack you, you can build all kinds of different fortifications. And when the actual battle happens, you'll be teleported to the town, and you'll be able to essentially use these tokens, kind of like in like a it reminds me a lot of like the shop in like League of Legends or Dota, where you have like an income and you spin those things on explosives or traps or whatever the case may be, and then you go out and you fight with your abilities, and you also have these little things you can set up for traps or whatever the case may be. And then the town can build fortifications that you can use during the invasions, which could be pools of lava that you push the buckets over, and it melts somewhere at the gate. And you can have cannons on the corners of the base that you can get on and start using them and shooting people. You have catapults, stuff like that, just essentially to fight off the invasion. And then you also have the 10 heroes you can switch out to. So it's cool. So if you have 10 people, like say it's your guild, you can be like, Tarnish is one of my heroes. You can send them a message saying, hey, I need your help. You're a hero. Please come help us. And you have 10 heroes. I'm not sure if there's any special abilities or coolness that comes with that, other than the fact that you're counted as a hero. So
yeah, and the 50, it's usually, I believe it's a 50-man raid, 50 versus 50. So if you're attacking someone else's metropolis, you get basically it's 50 people. So 40 really are your group, and then you can actually invite 10 outside people. Same thing if you're defending. Like if you know somebody, and like let's say that they're awesome, like and they're good at invasions and stuff, you can actually can you imagine selling your services? Like you're like the invasion specialist. It's like, hey, I'm great at defending walls, or I'm great at cannons, or whatever it is. You can actually have people come in who are not even associated or affiliated with you, but they can kind of be your kind of mercenaries and be part of those 10 heroes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The PvP aspect of it is cooler because you have to work at it. It takes effort, and then you get the standing to make the area weak enough where you can actually invade it. The PvE I think is really cool. It's the simple fact of it spawns. You either catch it and you wipe it out, or it grows and becomes a huge problem you have to deal with. And then the other part of PvE content, which is really cool, is you have uh, expeditions, I think is what they're called, and they're basically dungeons. They just added in, so you have the dungeons that we can do, which is really, really cool. I heard they're really hard right now, so they're tuning them, but apparently they're really, really hard. And then we also have these keys you can find around the world, where it gives you a coordinate on the map. You go there with a group, you spawn in, you fight this super, super hard. I think it's called like a nymph or something like that. And this thing is apparently one of the hardest things in the game. and you have a time limit to try and kill it, and either if you kill it or you fail, or you either have to kill it or you can fail by the time limit, or you can just it can just kick your butt. So either way you go about it. So hopefully you can kill it. If you kill it in time, there's really powerful loot in there. And if you can't kill it, because apparently it is super hard, it's like one of the hardest things you can do in the game. You might not be able to, but these nymph keys are gonna be, I guess, apparently pretty rare, and they're very, very hard to complete. So it's gonna be very interesting to see that. The biggest question I have with this game, which is similar to Conan, where I had we had issues forming groups because trying to figure out like how to tank, because with this, it's not a traditional MMO where you have a taunt or something to gain aggro. So what you had to do is, melee classes basically did a bunch of damage, get aggro, switch your sword and shield, and fight with it. And then once the other guy took aggro again, you swap back to your two-hander or your dual wielding or whatever it was. And then tanking was very interesting in that game, because if you're a melee, you basically were expected to tank. And then range, if they took aggro, now they're running away, trying to lose aggro. So it was very interesting on doing PvE content with the way the game works without having actual, they call it a trinity, where you have a tank, a DPS, and a healer.
There are some tanky abilities that you can do. However, some of those got removed. But a lot of those are either being used with staggers, or there's other things that you can do to kind of generate that aggro. But it's definitely, there's not a set tank class because there's no classes, right? So, but it's just as you develop those abilities, there are some that you can
Did you see generate. Anything that was threat based that actually gave you threat?
Yeah, there is. So some of the things that they had, there was like a shield, and the names have switched. This is where it got a little confusing, because again, there's so many different, the pages went like on pages and pages about so in some of them they use the same effects, but then that's where some of the things are, so like there was like a charge with a shield, and then there was there were some things that they did have that they were very specific in the patch notes, like the very recent ones, that they actually
so you didn't give an example. So was there anything threat based, like gave you actual threat to the monster?
It's like it's not called a shield bash or shield, it's like, I think it might have been shield rush or something like that. But there are some abilities that are going to help to have people establish threat. Yes, I believe that there are some things that do that.
Do you know the effect, like what it did? Did it give you threat?
Yeah.
Give you, or is it taunt? Well, do you know what it was?
Let me look that up while we are going over the next thing, because I did see that.
Okay, so yeah, one of the like I said, this is one of the issues with these games. Although it's really, really cool and it's fun, if you're trying to go for competitive PvE content, it's going to be really hard to do so without a taunt, a threat generation of some sort. For example, prop paladins and TBC have righteous fury, and actually have whatever paladins have righteous fury, right? I don't think they've ever got rid of that. So we have righteous fury. They have taunts of some sort in order to say, "Hey, monster, attack me," when someone takes aggro, right? And then obviously, aggro drops aren't necessarily required for MMO to be competitive, but the taunt and the threat generation, so you can hold aggro or generate more threat than a DPS, is important for a composition. Otherwise, you're going to be doing what you did in Conan, which we have everyone fighting for threat, and then hopefully a melee gets it and they switch to a shield when things get rough.
Okay, so shield bash strikes the shield and stuns the enemy. Shield rush, character lifts the shield and rushes forward, knock the enemy down on impact. Last stand, a character stands in a defensive stand, reducing the damage he receives. So basically, the way the shield and sword not class, but the shield and sword abilities, basically you can become a conventional tank with those if you develop those deep enough, and as you choose your abilities. So it's to conventional tank that you would expect a warrior to be, you would develop the shield and sword to do that. But those are the specific abilities that
I heard the damage mitigation ability. Did it say anything about threat?
So slow and immobile against enemies with negative effects. Yeah, I'll keep looking a little bit deeper, but those were the specific abilities that you asked.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like I said, the game's still an alpha, and that's obviously if they're putting mitigation in there. That's funny. Um, with without the threat, you can be as tanky as you want, but if an archer is taking aggro every time, being tanky is a waste of time. You know what I mean? That's kind of what happened with classic WoW, where you had these fury tanks running around everywhere because like we don't need to be tanky. We need to keep threat. That's the true issue. All right. So
Okay. So basically, you as a tank can stand in between the archer and the boss. So this game is not where, like in other games where you actually are running through characters, you actually have a physical spot. So if there's three sword wielding heroes behind the monster and they're stabbing it, they're doing all that extra damage. If I'm trying to get back in there, they could be in my way. Like I'm trying to get through. So if you are a tank, you literally could be standing. You're not going to pass me. So everything in this game, if you are an archer, you're physically aiming. If you have a musket, you're physically aiming. So like everything is like you're actually playing your character. Same thing with tanking. Nope, you're not passing me. Bam, get back. So it's really a cool. It's going to be different than most combat that we've experienced. So it's really exciting. Like I want to play.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I know Conan had a lot of these X factors, things that you have to deal with in a traditional theme park MMO. But there were issues, like I said, when it came to threat. Because Conan was similar. You could block a target, you could trap it in, and then it would just switch to the closest target. But sometimes with the size of these monsters, it was really hard, and they're usually faster than us. So I actually saw a boss fight on here where the boss moved really fast, or really fast, and the player got caught up to like instantly and was like just running for his life. Like there's not much he could do. And so that's kind of my only concern. That's why I was saying hopefully there's a taunt implemented for that tank class or that shield and sword class, where he can hit something with an ability and get aggro right back in case it does run away. And then no, come back. I got you. You're mine. So if they implement that, then the game's PvE content can get, because right now I hear it's really, really hard. It can stay really, really hard. And we can have a lot of fun just beat our head against really hard bosses, playing with our stats, playing with the items we're using, and things get so much fun when you're doing that. Because we might say, you know what, we're gonna, me, you, and a couple of guys, let's go in there and try to dunk out this dungeon. And it's really fucking hard. So we go back, we leave, we respec, we change our weapon, we come back. Or next week, we're like, all right, I'm gonna go more into this stat, and I'm gonna get this weapon up so we can try it again. Maybe we need 2 healers or a hybrid healer to help out, or a debuff, or a taunt, or maybe we need more damage, so we could figure things out and play around with weapons. And that was a lot of fun in Conan. I mean, some of those bosses just hit crazy hard. So, and I have a feeling this game's gonna be very similar, which is really, really fun. It's so much fun. So I'm really excited for that. So that's the PvE content as of yet. They haven't adding it in. Prior to this, the game was pretty PvP focused.